I'm going to be singing that all day. Our opening words today are by Peggy Clark. Love brings us back to life. Easter is a holiday of miracles. It is life from death, joy from sorrow, celebration from mourning. Easter reminds us that all is never lost, that the story continues as long as we are here to tell it. So gather up your worries. We're going to bury them beneath the ground and watch them transform into flowers of hope, pushing through the earth, reminding us on Easter morning that love brings us back to life, calls us from sadness, from grief, from anxiety into a world renewed and alive, filled with joy once again. Our opening hymn is number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Please rise in body or spirit.
Good morning and happy Easter and welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we come together every week as people with diverse beliefs and a shared commitment to bring more peace, more love, and more justice into this world. Whoever you are, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, whether for you Easter is bunnies and flowers, whether it is Jesus coming back to life, or whether you'd rather not altogether with Easter, you are welcome here. I want to also welcome our Zoom members who are joining us this morning. We are glad that you are with us. Here in the sanctuary, if you're new here, you can fill out a blue connection card, which you'll find at the end of the pews. And you can give that to one of the ushers during the collection. And in Zoom, there will be a link in the chat that you can fill out as well. Parents and caregivers of little ones, we are always delighted to have little ones in our sanctuary, and especially at this multi-generational Easter service. And we have a new edition of some brown notebooks and pencils in many of our pews. They may not have made it to all of the pews, and if you have a shortage, feel free to find a notebook if you need one. This is a service where a lot will be going on and moving about. But we wanted to offer those for those of us who find doodling a helpful way to engage in worship. We have an interactive music-filled service ahead of us. And so I want to dive into some announcements, but I also wanted to briefly draw attention to our communion silver that we bring out at Easter that usually lives in a museum for storage because it is old and it is special, and it comes from the days when the people who originally founded this congregation used it for their communion service. And if you haven't heard the story of how we got to keep the silver when the more Orthodox Christians left, you can hear that story sometime. Sharon McDonald tells it very well. A couple announcements for this morning. There will be no youth choir activities this week, though we are so delighted to hear them this morning. The Newsies Junior musical at the middle school here in town is happening, and so our youth choir director and many of our youth choir participants are involved in that. And we strongly encourage you to attend if you are able to get tickets to enjoy the show, but no youth choir this week. This coming Saturday, April 6th, is our First Parish auction, which is always a blast and a very fun time, so please come on out and join us. There will be many wonderful things to bid on, and there will be childcare and food and beverages, and it will be a great way to connect with folks and raise money for First Parish. Speaking of money, it is stewardship season, so if you haven't already, fill out that pledge packet. You can do it online, you can do it with the paper. Get those pledges coming in. That will really help our stewardship team. And so now, if you will rise again, we will share our unison affirmation in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Thank you. So, as Jamie and I were planning this service, we talked about how fun the Christmas Eve service has been these past couple years with our no-rehearse pageants. And we thought it might be fun to do something similar for Easter. A no-rehearse pageant means that you get to help us tell the story, and we will recruit volunteers on the spot out of the audience, so get ready to come up and help us recreate the Easter story.
The thing is, it's a bit more complicated to tell the Easter stories from the Bible than it is with the Christmas stories.
Yeah, babies are much easier to find than zombies.
Zombies?
Didn't Jesus reanimate after death? Does that make him a zombie?
I don't think that's how the Jewish people of his day conceived of the resurrection, which was actually a common religious belief in Jesus' cultural context.
Okay, fair enough.
But you're right. Babies are cute. Resurrected dead bodies, not so cute. But maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves anyway. Before we tell the story of Easter morning, let's nutshell the story of Jesus very quickly that led up to Easter morning.
So Jesus of Nazareth was a Jewish healer and teacher who lived and taught in what is now Israel and Palestine about 2,000 years ago. He taught people to love one another, to live in peace, to take care of all the people and the way that they would want their neighbors to take care of them. He also taught that the poor should be lifted up and the powerful should be overthrown, and that there was a greater power than the Roman Empire, which at the time was ruling that land and oppressing the Jewish people.
Jesus went from town to town, healing the sick and spreading his radical ideas. He became very popular, and the Roman government was afraid that he might lead the people into an uprising. During the Jewish festival of Passover, he went into the capital city of Jerusalem, where the power of the empire was, and he knew that this was a very dangerous thing to do. In fact, he predicted to his closest followers, people called disciples, that he would be killed, because that is what the Roman government did to troublemakers like Jesus. And he also told them that in 3 days he would rise up again, but they did not understand what that meant.
Jesus' prediction was correct. He was arrested and tried by the Romans, and although this is an awful thing, he was put to death on the Friday of that week, 2 days before our story on Easter Sunday begins. You are going to hear the word crucified in this story, and it means executed. It was a kind of death that Romans used to make people scared. And putting Jesus to death was designed to make people feel afraid so that they would obey the Roman rulers.
And Jesus' friends were afraid after he was killed, weren't they?
Yes, in all 4 of the Gospels, the story of Jesus' life and that we find in the Bible today, Jesus' friends and followers were sad and angry and definitely scared.
Wait, all 4 Gospels? There's not just one Easter story?
That's right, all 4 Gospels. Gospel just means good news, and people who wrote down the stories about Jesus were trying to share good news. There were a lot of stories about Jesus, and we don't know exactly who wrote them down, but they're named after Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
All right, so let's start with the shortest gospel then. That's Mark, right?
That's Mark. And to tell this story, now we're going to need some actors. So we're going to need a Mary Magdalene. Who wants to be Mary Magdalene? Nina, you're Mary Magdalene. Excellent. We're going to need Mary, the mother of James. You want to be Mary, the mother of James? That's awesome. And then we're going to need a Salome. Who wants to be Salome? Oh, I see a hand back there. Heck yeah, get up here.
Awesome.
And then we're going to need a mysterious young man. Oh, come on up. If I selected you, come up here to the front because you're going to need to get a little costume item. A mysterious man. Oh, Eloise, I can tell you're very excited. I'm going to pick Davin for that, but don't worry. There's going to be so many more parts. This play has a lot of parts, so be not afraid. You will get a part. Excellent. I think that's all we need for Mark. Mark's kind of short and simple.
Okay. All right, so while Annie helps everyone get into costumes, we're going to set the stage. All right? The goal today is an agreeable level of chaos, by the way. In Mark's story, Jesus has died, and then a man named Joseph of Arimathea got the body of Jesus back from the Romans because he wanted to give it a respectful burial. He wrapped it in a white cloth and he put it in a tomb that he owned, and he rolled a great stone against the door of the tomb so that no one could get in and the body would be safe.
And then what happened?
So then, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices. Grab your spices. So they might go and anoint the body, which is something that you would do as a ritual to be very respectful and caring and loving. So they go on early and they're like, who's going to roll away this gigantic stone? Because it was a big stone. But, surprise.
When they arrived, the stone was already rolled away. And there was a young man dressed in a white robe. And they were alarmed. But the man said, I forgot to give him his line. Just a second.
Hold it for 1 moment. But the man said,
"Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go, tell his disciples."
So they ran away. They ran away and said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. And
then what?
that's it. That's it. The tomb was empty and they ran away. That's literally the whole original ending of Mark.
That's kind of a weird ending.
It is weird, but it really emphasizes in the story how afraid Jesus' friends and family were. Their friend had been killed by the government. It was awful. They were grieving. They were scared for their own lives.
Yeah, and usually we think of Easter as super happy, and we like sing about spring, but in this story, it's pretty intense.
Well, in our culture, Easter is a mixture of the Christian holiday celebrating Jesus coming back to life with the seasonal celebration of fertility and growth and longer days that comes from earth-based and pagan traditions. That's where we actually got our opening hymn today. It's to the tune of Jesus Christ is Risen Today, which is a traditional Christian song about Jesus coming back to life. But we took it and added words about the earth and nature instead.
That's very you.
It is very you. And you know what else is very you? Creativity. So we are now going to have a beautiful piece of music with accompanying dance as a special musical interlude.
Okay. So now we're going to do Matthew's story about Jesus coming back to life. So we're going to need Mary Magdalene again. We're going to need the other Mary again. Who was our other Mary? You were, yeah. And, there's no Salome in this version, but you'll be coming back later. And we're going to need 2 guards. Who feels like being a guard? Yeah. We can even have, you can both come up. We can have 3 guards. It won't be a problem. The Roman Empire had a lot of guards, so yeah, just max guards. 4 guards even is cool. You want to be a guard too? Yeah, that's great. Well, that's totally fine. And then we're going to need an angel who can read a line. You want to be the angel, Eloise? Come on up and be the angel. And then we're going to need Jesus. Who wants to be Jesus? Oh, nobody wants to be Jesus. Yeah, you want to be Jesus? Come on up. Come on up. All right.
All right, we're going to give everyone a moment to costume up here. All right, so just like with Matthew, with Matthew, we start out like with Mark's version, where Joseph of Arimathea has put the body of Jesus into the tomb, but this time the Romans put guards outside the tomb with swords, so it's extra secure. Guards, you can go ahead and come on up already and start securing the tomb, right? Big, heavy stone guards with swords. No one is getting in there. Super fierce. Awesome. That tomb is rock solid. All right. Now, after the Sabbath on the first day of the week, on Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb. Can we have, we're securing.
Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb. Good job, you're doing great. And that was on Sunday morning. And suddenly, there was a great earthquake. Shake, everybody, it's an earthquake! And then an angel came and rolled away the stone. Angel, roll away that stone. Good job, Angel. Got to keep our tomb integrity going. And the guards were totally freaking out. Freak out, guards. There was an earthquake and an angel came. That's really wild. But the angel said to the women,
"Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come see the place where he lay."
And the angel told the women to go catch up with the disciples. And as they were running to tell them what happened, they suddenly ran into Jesus.
And Jesus said, "Greetings."
Greetings.
And he told them that they should go get the disciples and go to Galilee, and they'd all meet up there.
And they did meet up in Galilee. Some of them were overjoyed to see Jesus. Some of them did not actually believe it was really Jesus. But Jesus told them to share his teachings about love and justice in all the lands and promised that he would always be with them.
Well, that ending is a bit nicer than Mark's, though the earthquake was kind of a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. But one thing that I do like about this ending is that Jesus reminds his disciples, his friends, that he will still be with them after he's gone. And that's an important lesson that I like to remember at Easter, not because I think people actually come back to life after they die, but because they do live on in our memories, in the stories that we tell, in the communities that they were a part of.
That's true. And that is a hopeful message. And this is a good season for hope. thank you so much to all of our actors. Guards, you can put your swords back. Women, you can stay with your scarves. Angel, you can stay. And Jesus, you can keep your beard on. Jesus, we'll need you again. But you can all go sit down. You can all go sit down. Thank you so much. You did a great job. And indeed, this is a community where we can take meaning from many different sources of wisdom. We can take lessons from stories from the Bible, take lessons from the earth, take lessons from other religious traditions and from science and from our own experience. And I think that is a special thing about this community and about Unitarian Universalism. And so this morning we will collect our offering, and we invite you to give generously to this morning's offering to sustain this spiritual community where we bring many truths and many experiences together. And we'll hear from our choir on some more about hope.
Okay, so now we got Luke's version of the story. And we're going to need a lot of people for Luke's version of the story. We're going to need 4 or more women in the headscarves. So, Bradford, awesome. And if you have a headscarf already, come on up and gather in the staging area. And it looks like we need at least one more person. Yes, right there. All right, and we're going to need 2 people who want to wear dazzling clothes. 2 people who can put on sparkling tops. Right there. You already got the sparkle going. 1 more person with dazzling clothes. That's awesome, in the white. And let's see, we're going to need our Jesus with the Jesus beard. We got that. Jesus, come on forward. We're going to need some disciples. That means you're going to wear like a toga draped over your body. So if you want to be a disciple, we need at least 3 disciples. Right there, yes, in the blue. I'm sorry, Evan, come forward. And disciple, 2, awesome. 1 of you is going to be Peter. 2 of you are going to go for a walk. All right. We're just about there. Disciples, you just need to take the things and drape them over you like you're wearing a toga. We got our dazzling clothes. Oh, this is awesome. Okay. All right. I think actors, we're ready.
Excellent. So it all starts off like we've been hearing about. Joseph puts the body in a tomb. There's a big stone. And the women go on the first day of the week to anoint his body. So women, come on up. You're going to anoint the body. But lo and behold, the stone has been rolled away and nobody is in the tomb.
And then suddenly, 2 men appeared in dazzling clothes. Dazzling clothes, people, come on up. And one of them said,
"Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen."
So the women ran to tell the disciples. Women, run to the disciples. Go tell the disciples. Tell them.
But guess what? Those men didn't believe these women. Ever heard that one before? Men not believing women? Except for Peter. Which of the 3 of you is Peter? Peter jumped up and ran over and went into the tomb. Run to the tomb, Peter. And verified that it was empty except for those white linens.
So fast forward. So end this scene. Thank you, dazzling clothes. Thank you, Peter. And then there were 2 other disciples who were walking. They were just taking a walk. Just take a little walk, disciples. And they're walking to a place called Emmaus. And then here comes Jesus. Here comes Jesus. But they don't even recognize him. And he's like, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" And they're like, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place these days? Like, dude, catch up." And Jesus is like, "Wow, what things?" And they tell him, "Get this, the things about Jesus of Nazareth." And then they tell him the things.
And then Jesus was basically like, "You all are complete fools." And he starts trying to explain to them what was really going on, but they still can't understand anything.
When they finally get where they're going, the disciples, they ask the stranger to just stay with them because he doesn't have anywhere to go. And so he's like, "Cool, let's have some food." And then when Jesus blessed the bread and shared it, they finally recognized him. And they were like, "OMG, dude." What they actually said was, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" But I figure what they basically meant was, "OMG, dude."
So then Jesus finally shows himself to all of the other disciples. And they were very surprised, and he ate some food with them, and then he left them, and he went to heaven. End scene.
You know? Yes, thank you. Good job. And you can stay with your disciple. We're going to need more disciples later, so you can keep it up. That's kind of a weird story again. It's still pretty odd.
It is a weird story. One takeaway I like to think about is that people should believe women.
That's a good takeaway. Another one is that when you eat together, you're sharing something sacred. And that makes you see a friend where before you saw a stranger.
That's really beautiful. And then they all had to say goodbye.
They did. Because even though Jesus came back, he still had to leave. And now we're going to hear a different kind of sweet little goodbye song from our youngest youth choir.
So now we've come to the last version of the story, the Gospel of John. This one was the last one written and is even more different from all of the others. John kind of had his own vibe going on. So for this story, we're going to need Mary Magdalene. Mary, if you come to the staging area. And we're going to need Peter and another disciple and 2 angels. Angels, come on up. And we're going to need Jesus, come on up. And for this one, we need a lot of disciples. So if you feel like you have it in you to be a disciple, come on up. Yes, please, come on up. Let's get like 4 more disciples at least. Disciples, just like, jump on in. All right, yes, come on in, come on in. We can take a lot of disciples. Okay, and 1 angel has a line. Grab it from Annie. All right. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time, there's also an abrupt scene shift, so there's going to be a little bit of staging going on. But for right now, awesome. Our story's still going to start in a pretty familiar way. Do we have our fearless players costumed? All right.
So the story starts again in a familiar way. Jesus is killed, and Joseph of Arimathea tends to the body and puts it in the tomb. Then on Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene heads to the tomb, just Mary Magdalene. She sees that the stone has been rolled away and immediately freaks out and runs to tell Simon Peter, and the other disciple. So we got, great. And then those three run back to the tomb. They run back to the tomb. Simon Peter and Mary Magdalene and the other disciple. Sure, go for it. Be the other disciple. Yeah. Just one other disciple. Just anybody. We got a lot of disciples. You know, they're on it. They're ready. These are some very prepared disciples. And they see that Jesus isn't there. And they basically just go home confused, except for Mary Magdalene. You stay Mary Magdalene. Everybody else goes home. They're confused. And then she sees two angels. Angels, come on up, angels. Part for the angels. There you go. And she sees the two angels, and one of the angels says,
"Woman, why are you weeping?"
And Mary explains that someone had taken away the body of her friend and teacher. And then Jesus shows up again. And can some of our players just scooch a little so people can, that's really good. And then Jesus shows up, but she can't recognize him again, just like with the guys on the road to Emmaus. And then he calls her name. And he's like, "Mary," and suddenly she realizes who it is. And he says, "Go back and tell the disciples what happened." So she runs back to the disciples.
Did they believe her this time?
It doesn't really say whether they believed her. They were all hiding. They were hiding in a locked house because they were scared. Remember at the beginning, we said they were scared because the government had killed their friend and they were freaked out. And so then, suddenly, Jesus showed up to them in the locked house, and he breathed on them with the Holy Spirit. Yeah, try that on for size.
Now, while this is going on, there's a whole scene with Doubting Thomas that involves Jesus' wounds, and we're going to skip that part because gross.
But then there's a beach scene, so we're going to clear out because we're going to have a beach scene. And we're going to get a beach going. We got some beach towels. Because here's the thing. The disciples, they went fishing. And I think there's a fishing net. Yeah, disciples, you got to get that net. The fish come later. Hold up for the fish. I think the water's down there. That's the water. There you go. There you go. And so Jesus was on the beach. Where's our Jesus? Jesus is on the beach. That's right, relaxing. And the disciples were out fishing, and they were out fishing in a boat. And once again, they don't recognize Jesus. This is a big theme. They don't recognize Jesus. So Jesus calls out to them. He's like, "Are you catching any fish?" And they're like, "No. No, we're not catching any fish." So he told them to cast their net on the other side. And all of a sudden, they got all these fish.
So then they realize that it's Jesus, and Jesus had a fire going, and we're going to just like mind our actual fire going here. And he had some bread, and they all had a breakfast picnic on the beach. So you can all sit down on the beach, chill out with Jesus and the fish.
And at the picnic, Jesus kept asking Peter, do you love me? And Peter would say yes. And then Jesus would say, feed my sheep or tend my lambs. Feed my sheep.
End scene. End scene.
Again, I have a lot of questions. Like, why is Jesus saying to take care of sheep?
Well, it's a metaphor, I think, that if you love Jesus, you will take care of the people Jesus cared for in his ministry. Again, it's a way of saying, keep my teachings alive, keep living the way I lived, helping people who are seen as outcasts and offering them love. So Easter is about the message of love surviving death. It's a hopeful message.
And I think these stories, even though they're sort of odd and they're unusual in our current context, I think they're very hopeful. They remind us that empires are violent, but that even when the empire seems to win, that isn't the end of the story. They remind us that we can keep people's memories alive after they've died by telling stories about them and by living in the way that they taught us to live and doing the work that mattered to them. And they also remind us that sharing meals or calling someone by their name is a sacred way to connect with someone. And they tell us that love can win in the end. So we're going to hear one more piece of music about hope. No. Did we already do all the hope? No, we're sorry. Yes, we're not hearing. We're going to sing a hymn instead. Sorry about that. We're going to sing a hymn together. It's Now the Green Blade Riseth. Somebody call it the number? 266. 266. It's number 266 in your gray or cloth-covered hymnal, and we will sing it together. Indeed, whether you do Easter with the earth metaphors and the flowers, or whether you do it with Bible stories, or whether you don't really do it at all, it is true that love comes back, that love cannot be killed, and that love never goes away permanently. It comes again like wheat that springeth green. Thank you so much to everyone who brought our Bible stories to life this morning. And I want to remind everyone that we have an Easter egg hunt immediately following this service. After our postlude, we'll gather out in the narthex so we can go onto the common where there are Easter eggs that are hidden. And this is for 5th grade kids and younger. And if you don't have something to carry eggs in, we'll make sure we get you something. I can't promise it will be a basket, but we will get you some kind of receptacle to gather eggs. Be not afraid. And we hope that you carry this message of love and hope and believing women and finding ways to carry the dead with you in your heart and in your memory. Happy Easter.